Welcome to our life energy update for energetically sensitives and awakening and empaths. Here from Colorado for the week of the 1st to the 7th of December 2017. Hi everybody, my name is Jona Bryndis. I'm an energy healer and energy coach, and you might find this quite unusual here that there's this person sitting in her backyard talking about collective energies. So I'll get to that here in a minute, and we do a little bit of a summary, of an overview. Then I go into last week, how these energies that we discussed last week, how they were playing out for energetically sensitives and empaths. And then I go into the prediction part, how I see the trends for the coming week. As always, the reminder that energies, frequencies, and what we're looking at, they're non-linear, so they're not really bound to time. And so this dividing them into weeks is more to make them a bit more digestible for us, or at least the information. But as you can see, you know, the energies from one week, you know, they lap over. And a lot of times, you know, when I say this has been been going on for a couple of weeks, or this will continue to go on for a couple of weeks, we have to understand that we are dealing here with things that are comparable with weather conditions. All right, so collective energies are basically the culmination of what people go through, and it's arguable what was there first, you know, the chicken or the egg. So obviously we can only sort of look at things in retrospect, and the only reason why I can do this, like say maybe a week or two prior to this actually occurring in your personal life, is because I work with energetically sensitives, with visionaries, with highly precognitive people, and I'm myself doing energy sessions every day. So I look into the energetic dynamics that are going on between individuals and collective energies every day. So as a matter of fact, we have a very intense transmission marathon, as we call it, going on. This is when people sign up for energy sessions with us, that we hold up, where we hold the space for 3 days in a row, and this one goes really deep into our spiritual understanding of things. So I'm hoping to be able to come up with a coherent overview and prediction. After the energetic part, I'm actually going to reflect on news in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency world. And you might find this yet again weird that someone who talks about this woo-woo stuff is interested in talking about something technical, such as cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and so forth. Part of that is because I have a history in that. You may not see this, but I have been working with IT for over 35 years. So this is a natural thing for me to look at how do these collective energies reflect in our technological advancements and so forth. And it just so happens that a lot of my precognitive abilities go hand in hand with technologies, meaning that I can see things before they are actually available, like say on the market. And the reason why I'm actually picking the cryptocurrency market here to almost use this as a mirror for what is going on in our collective is because it has such a important meaning in this whole change that we are experiencing right now. And I am calling the energy report for this week New Standards, and new standards for a reason. All right, so the overall situation that we are in in regards to things changing. We are changing, and many of us who have been like sort of in the new age, spiritual, esoteric world for a while, you know, I'm talking about us older folks, all right, we've been talking about this forever. This has been going on for 20, 30 years, you know, that powers to be have to change, and that they're all gonna, you know, have to be uncovered, and that the control that we are subdued to, the matrix and the dark forces, how they're manipulating us, that all this has to be revealed. Well, this has been going on all year. All right, and remember in the energy forecast for 2017, I said conspiracy theorists are going to have a field day this year, and this will continue, guys. So what we are experiencing right now, be it through some of the things in our media world, where aspects in regards to femininity, you know, sexual harassment and so forth, where these things are being uncovered, and where the people involved actually suffer the consequences now of their non-integrous behavior in the past, or where companies, corporations that we never in a million years thought that they would fail, you know, just due to their sheer size, are starting to struggle or even to close their doors. So what you are experiencing here, not just on your physical or emotional or mental or spiritual level with yourself, is you are experiencing this change in the entire collective. But until this reaches mainstream quality, so to speak, until sort of every newspaper reports change is here, all right, we are still sort of struggling with our ego perception to hang on to old times, to go back and, oh, wouldn't it be nice, and oh yeah, that's just a phase. And you know, this is, even if we want change, and this is the curious thing really about us as humans, is that we all want change. Deep down, we all want change. We all are programmed to improvement, to evolution. But when it comes to actually sort of walking the talk, we resist. And it is not our consciousness that resists, it's our ego that resists. And if you know me a little bit, I talk a lot about the aspects of ego, and here at transCODES, where we've created a whole sort of community around self-healing and self-empowerment on all levels of existence. We regard ego not so much in the psychological sense as the egotistical part of us, but as an addiction of our nervous system, so to speak. And energetically, this can be seen for those of us who are trained in energy work and energy healing. For us, there's very little difference between someone who suffers a substance addiction or behavioral addictions to someone who's addicted to, like, say, specialness or pride or anger or victimhood. And I know this may seem like a bit of a stretch for most of you, because aren't these things regarded to be honorable things? I mean, victimhood has been elevated to be something honorable in our society for many hundreds, if not thousands of years. And some part of that is rooted in our religious beliefs and our institutionalized spirituality, because here certain values and certain human conditions were framed in a way that it made it easier for us to be controlled. But also, and I have to give credits to some of the religions, even though you know, I was obviously brought up in a Christian environment, and I have no problems with that. There's no contradiction for me with the way I see spirituality today. and some of the Christian values that I have. It doesn't matter to me, because in energy work, thank you, in energy work, those things really don't matter what our beliefs are. In energy work, we are being guided to listen to the core values that we have in us as true selves, as the sovereigns of our own being. And that includes our physical, our emotional, our mental, our spiritual, and our energetic part of our existence. And so some of these values that have been like maybe distorted, I'm trying to express this as neutral as I can, or misguided, or sometimes simply misunderstood, you know, have to be reevaluated right now. So part of this change, you know, or this global awakening, this massive shift that is happening right now, is not, you know, coming in the way that we thought it would come. You know, we all had these ideas of sort of apocalyptic type of conditions. Yeah, this is all we could think of, because this is how we were programmed to believe that massive change happens, you know, through a massive catastrophe or a massive sort of single event that you know, wipes out the majority of humanity and just allows the chosen ones, you know, to survive and to continue. All this is based on some of these distorted beliefs and values that we have adapted without even being aware of them. And this is the reason why it's so difficult for people to identify and to discern what is actually happening right now. In my personal view, we are in the biggest change that has been going on in human consciousness evolution, as long as we have recorded history. Now, I can't vouch for the non-recorded history, or the part of our human evolution that is not accessible for us. But as far as like, you know, our recent history, like say the last 6,000-8,000 years, what the shift that we are experiencing in our consciousness development right now is bigger than anything we've ever seen before. And does this mean that there's going to be apocalyptic events that sort of further escalate or promote sort of this radical change? I don't know. I have not seen this for this year, and I'm not really seeing this for next year. I'm seeing a lot of shifts. I'm seeing a lot of sort of revolutionary energies coming up in us, and the need to liberate ourselves, the need to set new standards in all areas of our lives. All right, and so there is a very strong tendency, and this is actually coming in this following week, because we're beginning to prepare for 2018. All right, so this is why I'm talking about this. Yes, yes, I agree with you, Third Eye. The season of exposure, this whole year has been about this, and this will continue for the next year or two. All right, so everything that we've always sort of deep down felt isn't quite right, isn't true, isn't really matching up, all right, will be proven to have been connected with conspiracy, or with manipulation, or with control, or simply keeping us sort of in that state of numbing consumerism. And when I say new standards in all areas of our lives, I want you to really understand this. There is a big movement towards self-sustainability, sovereignty, independence. And this will, of course, play out in the political. So we'll see a lot more countries such as Catalonia or other countries that are trying to become independent, that are trying to reinstate their original identity. Okay, we'll continue to see this. We'll also have, of course, countries who will go into this mania that we have seen in the past history of the last 100 years and before that, to dominate the world. All right, this will be sort of the last hurrah of the old paradigm, of the old sort of in order for me to liberate myself, I have to kill everything else. That's the old paradigm. That's solar plexus. That's force. All right, but the new standard that is coming in is leading us towards true power, true integrity, truth altogether. And so season of exposure means much more than just uncovering secrets, uncovering lies, uncovering conspiracy theories. It also means for us to go into this bone-crushing honesty with ourselves, and where we, in our behaviors, with our patterns, with our attitudes, with our choices, where we have been part of this sort of untrue system in the past. Now, I'm not saying that everything is a lie. I'm not saying that everything is a conspiracy. This is not where this is going. Although we can see things right now, and I've been experiencing this myself, you know, censorship and so forth, you know, where there's a sort of a clamp that's being put on us and our freedom of speech and also our freedom to perceive. Okay, last week I mentioned this, that there's this overlay, this seventh chakra overlay that is can be felt in the collective right now, which has produced a lot of temple pressure, headaches, really bad migraines in people last week, and which also, if we don't really know how to contextualize this, can lead to this feeling of disconnection. It's almost like you getting unplugged from the global universal Wi-Fi, all right, and all of a sudden, you know, you feel this like enormous sort of jam in your head, in your in your or with your ability for higher perception. All right, these things are going on, and I will not deny that there is, of course, you know, whatever you want to call this, dark forces or whatever, that are contributing to this, but that's besides the point. See, this is why I like comparing collective energies with weather conditions, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what caused what. Okay, it doesn't matter what was there first, the chicken or the egg. It doesn't matter who causes, you know, this shift. All right, there's many theories, and I can, you know, confirm some of these theories as to like what is actually triggering this shift here on our planet, and some of it is actually measurable and very physical, and actually really in the vibratory rate of this planet. And this is noticeably increasing, and you know, there's no end in sight at this point. All right, and so many of us feel these enormous waves of energy come in, and if you have not labeled yourself as an empath or energetically sensitive person before, that's all right. That's why I've included awakening people now in this forecast, because you know what awakening really means is not necessarily what we you know, used to connect with this 20-30 years ago, which is this enlightenment, you know, and sitting on the mountaintop and being all blissed out. You know, this is not what this is about. All right, when you sit on a mountaintop all blissed out, you can't really function anymore in this world, and you won't be able to experience things such as love and pain, and you know, some of these human joys that we are privileged to experience. All right, so I'm just trying to bring this into a larger context here. All right, when we are awakening, what this means is that we begin to have the perception of something greater than us as in egos. All right, that we can feel the presence of a larger power, but not in the sense of forces that try to manipulate us, but a greater power that we can link into, and that we can sort of just due to our nature of who we are, that we can transduce and actually benefit from and use, but not use for our personal solar plexus ego gain, but use this to produce more. It's like the free energy concept. But you can only do this if you don't try to keep this for yourself. You can only plug into this divine power or universal field of consciousness, or whatever you want to call this, if your alignment is towards creating more than just, you know, adding your part to it, but being a part, becoming a part of a greater purpose. And this is my definition of awakening, and namely the seek for the greater, or seeking, the search for a greater purpose, and a yearning in us, a longing to belong to this higher purpose. In other words, if I'd pick more sort of spiritual lingo for this, to internalize our divine power within, to actually fully connect with this divine part in us, and to not, you know, when people work with us, you know, we work with people from all ethnic backgrounds, from all countries. By the way, what country are you guys from? Can you text me here what country you were listening to? This is such a delight, you know, to see, you know, all these different countries that you are joining in from. So just text in the chat what country you're from. It's so cool to see this in the commentary later. But, you know, from all ethnic backgrounds, from all religious backgrounds. Hey, Denmark! Hey, UK! You know, and when I talk about God or divine, you know, then, and South Africa, woohoo, and Australia, man, that's so awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. You know, then I'm not trying to go against any existing beliefs. This is not the intention. The point is that we all feel this in us. There is something in us that resonates with this universal power. All right, and we here at transCODES, we call this true self. The true self, sort of the mediator between your soul and your physical, emotional, mental self. All right, this translator, okay, the part in you that is unchanging, that is linked to your soul, but that is able to communicate with you through your inner consciousness. And when people talk about mindfulness, which, by the way, I think is one of the worst words we've created in the last decades, because mindfulness, you know, has this like belief in it, or this implication in it that it has something to do with the mind. It has nothing to do with the mind, and we already have our minds full with shit anyway. So it should actually be more like mindlessness, I think, in my opinion. However, let's just pick up on this word and call it mindfulness. So this whole a shift into mindfulness and really going into meditation and seeking to silence our minds. All this is supposed to do really is to quiet the noise, to silence the noise of our mind, of our beliefs, of these programs that I talked about. And a lot of these programs, we see them in the energy field of people, often as attachments or implants. And you know, part of the reason why I do these energy updates is also to introduce you to a little bit to the lingo of energy work, bit by bit, without scaring you too much. You know, when people talk about implants, and I know there's a lot of esoteric teachings out there that vilify and demonize implants, you know, and scare people through that. I do not agree with this. I think this is misleading. You know, we can have implants. Some of these implants that we have are actually useful. They are for our protection. But this is really exactly what is happening now with this shift that we are experiencing. This radical shift is that we are beginning to liberate ourselves from some of these, maybe back in the days, useful or needed implants, programs, and patterns, but no longer advantageous for us. And so there's no point in going back and you know, regretting or beating ourselves up or accusing or, you know, rebelling against the past or the representatives of the past. There's no point in this, guys. When it comes to sovereignty, all you really got to do is stand up and claim it. It's your birthright. You have that. It's not something that needs to be written down somewhere. Granted, some of us live in countries where the understanding of sovereignty is still a little bit restricted. All right, and this is changing now. So what we will see in this next decade is a massive change that we cannot even fathom, that we cannot even imagine right now. And how is this all going to come about? It is not like you think, you know, like we have this big event like meteors hitting the world or aliens appearing or, you know, the big flood or whatever. No, it's happening through within ourselves. And this is why new standards have to be developed. And guess what? They have to be developed by us. We have to claim that sovereignty within ourselves. We have to claim our ability. It's not even a right, it's an ability to truly connect with our inner power, with our true power. All right, we don't need institutions, corporations, banks, or governments to tell us, all right, what we need. I agree that there have to be regulations, and this will be part of the new standards. So what we'll be seeing here in this week, especially here this weekend, okay, is a whole, it sets the beginning point of a whole new era, because we're gonna see regulations that are falling apart, that are no longer needed, that are no longer valid, that are no longer integrous, to be changed into new rules. This means that there will be new laws, there will be new regulations in regards to my favorite subject, the financial transactions altogether, monetary systems, but also new rules of engagement, as I mentioned last week. You know, within our relationships, within how we interact with another. And in the beginning here, I mentioned these new values that now need to be implemented. That's our new paradigm that we've all talked about so much. Okay, but now is the time to actually do it. And it won't go overnight, obviously. It will go step by step. But if we want to be sort of a conscious witnesser of this and perhaps even contribute to this, and I'll say something about contribution here in a minute, because when we decide to actively participate in something, all right, something that is true to us, something that deeply resonates with us, then we are also enlarging its power. All right, we are empowering it, and we are getting empowered through it at the same time. And this is sort of the movement into a whole new era of spirituality, for instance, but also a whole new era of making business, a whole new era of conducting relationships, international relationships, relationship with our planet, you know, with other people. All right, all these things are now in the process of change, radical change, and we can be part of it, and then we will experience this as an empowering, and we can resist it, and then we will feel or experience this as struggle. If you have the time and you didn't watch this yet, listen to the energy update from last week. You know, I have this energetic barometer that I come up with every week, and you'll see this here in the video in the edited version later. This week, or for this coming week, the energy barometer is on red again all the way, okay? Because what was starting last week, namely these new energies coming in, they are further speeding up, and I'm afraid to say that there is no end in sight, guys. This year's been really, really difficult for me to be sort of the Cassandra here, because I feel like a broken record. I feel like constantly saying, oh, you know, it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, and I don't really want to sound negative. I'm just trying to be really realistic about this, all right? This next week is going to be extremely challenging, and it's going to start this weekend. And we better get our shit together. Stay open and embrace these new energies, these powerful new energies that are coming in now, as opportunity for healing, as opportunity for growth, and as opportunity for a new fortune. And if you can see it that way, then you will experience this as an extremely positive development. But you have to be able to contextualize what's happening, because on paper, what we're going to see here now this next week, and this is probably the biggest challenge for us, is a huge correctional wave. And a lot of you energetically sensitives have already reported this to me in the last couple of days, feeling these waves, these quakes, these rumbles. All right, and I don't know if this means that we're actually going to see this, you know, in form of earth changes. Like I said, the last months, really, I keep on seeing big earthquakes, big waves. All right, so I don't know if this is actually, I don't think it's going to come true here for the first couple of weeks in December, but there's a likelihood for that towards the end of December. But we, you know, as precognitive energetic beings, even if you don't call yourself that way, but we all have that precognitive ability, we can already feel this, and we may feel this in form of these tremendous headaches, these tremendous pressures in our head. We may feel this as actual shaking, you know, off the ground, you know, holding on to your table, and you're like, what the, you know, where this is just an inner sensation. Those are all what we call energetic sensations. It's not actually happening in the physical, but you are picking up on it energetically. And picking up on things energetically, because it's non-linear, non-temporal, non-spatial information, is possible. You just got to train how to do this so that you can actually contextualize what it is that you're experiencing. All right, this is what we do here at transCODES, helping with this. But the point that I'm making is that there is a huge wave of energy coming in right now, and it's either going to feel extremely uncomfortable, and you're going to go through a lot of pain of loss, a lot of disappointment, a lot of grief too. So this is one of the predominant emotions that I'm getting in for this coming week. But also, you know, really a strong sort of resistance from other people, because this what correction means, you know, it's not meant to be in like sort of a punitive way. What correction means is that there's growth happening, okay? There's self-correction that is going on, and that means of course that things that used to work don't work anymore. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Awesome. Thank you, Third Eye, for this recommendation about observing Earth changes. You will see this in the commentary here when the video is done. So it's the end of our, you know, righteousness. It's the end of our, you know, insisting on that the world is the way we see it, okay? And for mainstream, you know, for these 85–90% of people who have no clue what I'm talking about, who think that this is a total BS, you know, this whole awakening talk, all right? It's like I said before, it's only like 10–15% of us that actually have this kind of input and see the world in this way. How we will be perceiving this is that, you know, the way we used to make money, the way we used to make love, the way we used to talk with others, even the way we used to communicate with ourselves, all these things, if they do not resonate with ourselves on an absolute truth level, they won't work for us anymore. We won't be able to make money in that way anymore. It will hurt us. We'll get sick, or we'll get desperate. We'll get, you know, things would just not work out. So when I talk about new standards, guys, I'm also talking about a new standard of authenticity. Hey, Canada. A new standard of authenticity. Okay, and this answers the question from the beginning, why is she sitting there in her backyard? And, you know, this is why. All right, I don't care, you know, what a video like this is supposed to look like. All right, yes, I'm trying to look respectable before I do the recordings, but that's about it. And then I sit down and I have my notes here. I'm going to show this to you. This is what my notes are for this week. Okay, and these notes, they come from working with at least 100 of energetically sensitives and visionary people throughout a week. So this is just my weekly notes. And then I have protocols where I keep energies, energetic dynamics throughout the year. And then of course I have my personal energies that I journal and protocol as well. All right, so this is not just something I'm pulling out of the air. That's why I'm always saying, you know, please don't expect me to be a clairvoyant or a card reader or an astrologer. Not that there's anything wrong with this, but this is not the methodology that I'm using. I'm actually working with people together. All right, and while it is that they come to me because they want energetic coaching, they want me to teach them how to discern energies better and so forth, I recognize them as energetically sensitives. And so we work together. It's not like I'm the guru and they're the students or whatever. That's not what this is. It can't work that way. This is old paradigm, guys. So a big warning here on all of you who feel this sense of isolation, this sense of disconnection that I mentioned in the beginning, and who are searching for belonging. Don't get trapped into cults or groups that promise salvation if you just give up your sovereignty, if you just give up your power. This is old paradigm. It's never worked and will not work at all for you in the future, because it's all about regaining your inner power, reconnecting, reclaiming with your true power, and that is within, no matter what your religious or spiritual beliefs are. All right, and so anything, any system, any company, any relationship, any product, any, did I forget it? Spiritual group, any movie, any music that is promoting empowerment, seeking power from within, respecting your true self, respecting your boundaries, respecting your space, is what I mean with new standards. Sure, there will be also new standards in legal regulations, especially the crypto markets. I just had a radio interview about standards in energy healing. All right, this is something I'm working on right now, to come up with specifications of different kinds of energy healing and how they can be sort of measured, qualitative. All right. As you all know, we train energy healers and professionals from all different kinds of professions to add energy work into their existing work. And so that there is a huge need in the future for people who are able to integrate energy work into what it is that they're doing, be it real estate, be it baking, be it childcare, or financial services. It doesn't matter, because as we are shifting into these new standards of truth and authenticity, the people that provide products and services to us, they need to shift too. And you will see this, that only those companies and only those service providers who are integrous or who embrace, this shift will succeed. And if you're planning on starting up a new business or integrating new business ideas, then try to really feel into this. Is this true to me? Is this integrous? Am I providing a service that is empowering for others, that is adding to the sort of synergistic unfolding of truth, of integrity, of love? Or is it restricting? Is it based on greed? Is it based on gain? There is something, in energy work that we recognize as obviously, we're working with resonances and frequencies and so forth. And I don't want to bore you with this. I've written literally hundreds of articles about this. But there's something that we recognize in energy work, and that is when two or more people come together and when they have the right alignment, they are producing something that is larger than the sum of their parts. And you all know this word, it's synergy. But I want you to, in order to understand the new paradigm, you need to feel into what this truly means. If we all come together and allow our higher alignment, our higher vibratory alignment to empower others, then we are creating more than we are. This is what this means. And then, here, something for the good doers and the ones that want to help to change the world. The world doesn't really need our doing to change, but if you want to align to this, then engage in activities that express love and self-love at all times, because this is one of the highest frequency alignments that we can have. And as we're doing this, we're actually actively changing the collective. But at this point, I recommend everybody to focus on themselves and actually go into active self-healing, because that is where it happens. So as we change one at a time, the collective changes. And this also gives you a little better understanding of what collective energies are. They're the culmination of all of our energies. All right. So what was there first? The prompting to grow, the prompting to evolve, or, just a bunch of people starting to do it, and then that has sort of the osmotic effect on others? I cannot give you that answer. But for me, that question doesn't matter. For me, all that matters is that I am seeing a tendency, and I am seeing this happening on an individual and a collective level. All right, and that's actually the positive part of the message. How long this is going to take, I can't tell you, but I can tell you that in 10 years from now, which means that my 3-year-old, 3 children, my youngest is 3 years old, will, in 10 years from now, when he's 13, find a world that is completely different from the world that we grew up in. And I'm not just talking about technology. I'm also talking about these standards that I've reiterated here. All right, so this was a pretty long talk about sort of the summary, okay? Part of that has to do with sort of these new energies coming in now for next year. There's a massive shift that is going on this weekend, and part of it is also because we have such a struggle dealing with all these things that we need a little more contextualization here. We need people who help us to contextualize this. All right, so this is the overall situation. Now coming to what happened last week. Okay, last week was there was a two-folded arrow. One was in the green and one was in the red. What does this mean? I explained that last week. So there's a different perception of what is going on, and this may have created quite a bit of physical stress on you. People had severe issues with their immune system, coming down with like really weird sort of flu-like symptoms, but only for like 48 hours. A lot of digestive stuff, a lot of immune system stuff. So I predicted that the week before. And next week is going to be a little different here. We will have to continue watch our immune system, only because it's weakened us a bit, but really what happened was a purge, you know, a purge of all these energies that were stored in our system that had to come out. That's why there was so much digestive upset. This week will trigger a bit more of our nervousness, a bit more of our anxiety and fear, accompanied with grief and anger. Okay, and so you really need to embrace these situations that come up in your life that say this is no longer working, as opportunity to grow. Try not to muscle through. This is the old way, this is the old paradigm, and where has this gotten you? If you want things to change, then you need to change the way you approach things. And muscling through things and just getting by it, or getting through with whatever coping mechanisms you're using, is not going to help you grow, is not going to help you mature, is not going to help you to make more money. It's going to make you unhappy. All right? And this will, of course, then affect all your relationships, you know, your relationship with yourself and the relationship with others. And so last week was a bit of, you know, whining, and a bit of like continued looping that we had going on in the past weeks. And like, shoot, you know, this doesn't work. Okay? Yes, but that's a good thing. Do you know what the worst thing is? Is to work with someone who cannot see that what they're doing is completely destructive and no longer needed. So you finally reached the point where you can see this. Yes. So take this as a motivation, all right? And, well, what should I do? What should you do? Do things differently. You don't know. You don't need to know what you need to do. That there is no right or wrong. That's old paradigm. Dualism. Right or wrong, or my way, your way. Better or worse. You know, good or bad. It isn't that way. The universe doesn't function that way. Some things are more favorable than others. And this can shift with different times. So right now we're in a correctional wave. And one of the biggest or most important things that we need in order to go with this is to accept that our mind is not able to figure this out. Just admit to yourself that your ego cannot get this, what I'm talking about. And if you notice this, I talk in circles. You know, I do this on purpose because I'm actually doing energy work as I'm talking with you. All right, this is a form of unwinding energies, and it doesn't happen straight, because if I go straight, then your mind will contradict. And as your mind contradicts, you know, then a part of you will shut down. There will be too much noise in that sort of judgment area of your mind, and that will not allow you to feel your inner guidance. So I often sort of seem to talk this way. All right, just a little sort of side note here on to energy workers. So What it is about right now is for you to understand that you cannot control change. You can only learn how to better discern energies, meaning knowing better when to stop something, when to leave, when to start something new, when an approach is conducive for you and when it's not. All right, and then listen and trust into your inner guidance. And that can only happen if you claim that higher power that flows through you. All right, because this will also allow you to develop a vision that includes this higher alignment. All right, so as far as the predictions is concerned, you know, I've let all this sort of flow in, so the summary was more also like the predictive part. For us here in this next week, a lot of it will be about respect and self-respect. So some of the relationship issues that we had last week, they will now take on a different turn. Last week was more about really allowing ourselves to feel our pain. And it's okay if we had to lick our wounds a little bit in whatever way that played out for you. But this week is more about seeing the other person's perspective and going into more of a mutual understanding of things and the synergy, you know, the win-win-win, you know, when both win and the whole wins or expands along with it. So for that we need to be respectful, and we will probably find out that perhaps in the past or, you know, in the present more, that sometimes the way we see things is quite restricted, and so we don't even realize how insensitive we are. We don't even realize how we hurt other people's feelings through allowing misunderstandings. All right, so this, especially for the weekend, this is coming in, you know, to be really cautious in regards to misunderstandings and to give yourself a soft eye and the other as well, if you know what that means, you know, to cut yourself a little bit of slack. And if you can go into compassion for how somebody else sees something, then this may maybe help you to find a softer way of dealing with it. All right, you know, I talk about things such as radical truth and all that, but that doesn't mean that just because you are beginning to feel truth, that you can insist on that your version of truth is the only one that's there. And that you need to go out and tell everybody that, you know, they're lying to themselves and they're like in a deceptive ego deception mode and whatnot. No. Trust me, I've been there. That does not work. But this week in particular, it's about the softness of feeling and you know, perhaps even going into making amends with other people. This would be a great week for this. To go back and say, you know, I'm sorry if I was insensitive, if I didn't see things, or if I couldn't see it from your perspective. You know, here in energy work, we have a very powerful saying, a very powerful phrase that we teach people when they're doing active and deeper reconciliation work, and that is, thank you for showing this to me. I didn't see this before. And if you can work with this within yourself and others and actually bring this into expression in that way, then you are more than well equipped for these next week's shift energies. All right, so coming to the crypto news and a radical shift and correctional wave. Oh well, it is in progress. So just here, a brief overview for those of you who have no clue what cryptos are. I'm talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about not Bitcoin as a currency, but Bitcoin as a whole sort of new way of transactions, and not only financial transactions. So for those of you who actually understand the technology behind cryptocurrencies, you will understand that the use is much, much bigger and much more radical than just finding new currencies or new ways of transferring money from peer to peer without a middleman. That's just one aspect of that. There is much more behind all this, why I'm so much on fire. But the reason why I'm adding crypto news here to my energy updates is because so many of you guys have been living in the shadows of financial success. Because you had this inner calling, and because you could feel this pain, doing certain jobs that would violate your integrity. And so in the past you have had to take a lot of shit for your choices, and in many cases it led to a life of financial struggle. All right, these times are over now. If you can see and be flexible enough to go with what is going on, okay? There is a whole new world developing, and this is a world that will set new standards in all areas of our lives. And you can be a part of it now. Remember last week I said all times are now, all places are here. This is the time. Now, as far as cryptos is concerned, we have had a massive breakthrough this week. The Bitcoin course exceeded $10,000 a Bitcoin, which is a reason to celebrate, because all these people, including myself, who predicted this were laughed at. And if you look at the price of Bitcoin at the beginning of the year and now, it is unbelievable. And let me tell you, this is only the beginning. But I've talked about this, we've done workshops about this, and please refer to those for the basic technology. I just really want to reflect on current events in the crypto world. So right now, it needs to be expected that there's a little bit of a corrective wave here, because as you know, with Bitcoin, it's not like trading stocks, it's not about that aspect of it. It's the amount of money that is flowing into the blockchain, into this new technology that Bitcoin is sort of the symbol of. All right, there are currently, I think, 13,000 other currencies, if you will. They're not really currencies. There are technological protocols that allow you to use them for something, and there's new technologies that are developing along with this, and this is what I want to want you to pay attention to. So last week I said this is the time to build a position, because it's still Wild West, and the software, the application software, is not safe enough for you to just sort of diddle around. Okay, there's too many things that can go wrong right now, unless you are willing to go through this technological nervous breakdown and join this sort of crypto ADHD community. All right, I would not recommend you to do any kind of trading at this point. But I did recommend last week to get yourselves a Bitcoin wallet, and to even if you don't put anything on there yet, to be ready, to prepare to be ready, because what has happened this week is still in sort of the beginning stages. All right, so get ready. And for those of you who are already a couple of steps further than that, you need to really think about your investment strategy here. Okay, I did promise that you can make a lot of money, and that is true, but how can you do this? All right, so at this very moment, if you already own Bitcoin or Litecoin, Dash or Ethereum. Those are sort of the cryptocurrencies that are traded as currencies, although this does not do its justice, especially not Ethereum, because Ethereum is a whole new its own ecosystem and has a huge potential. All right, but let's just assume you have these coins, and Bitcoin Cash also belongs into this group, by the way. Then I would say at this point, hold it. HODLing, HODL, is not a typo. That is a new term that was accidentally created, so the tale says, by a drunken computer programmer. Okay, so HODLing means holding your position, not doing anything. And why am I recommending this for this week? Simply because of this correctional wave that is going on right now. If you don't know yet exactly what these different coins promise and where they're at in their development, then it's best to stay put, to stay HODL. All right, it will be safer for you simply because you cannot feel this yet, you know, what these different waves are. As far as investment strategies or further investment strategies is concerned, if you already own altcoins meaning like all these other coins, then I would strongly recommend you to keep an eye on, first of all, market capitalization. This will be a huge indicator for you also in the future. So for those of you who still don't know really how to deal with this whole crypto market, go to coinmarketcap.com and you know, just observe it, just get a feeling for it, and watch the market capitalization. All right, we began this year with like out of 14 or 17 billion dollars in cryptocurrencies, and we are currently over 300 billion. This gives you an indication of how this is actually changing the financial world. And this is before all the insurance companies, banks, big corporations, and countries and governments have jumped on it. So are you asking me, is it too late to invest in cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin? No. We are roughly at 0.01% of the potential market capitalization, which means, yes, crypto ninja. I love that. You know, because it's still in birthing state. Okay. Yes, hodl. That's right. So, but for those of you who have a bit more knowledge and who are starting to feel familiar with some of these altcoins, pay attention. And this leads me to the psychology of trading. You know, in the old days, trading success was pretty much determined and controlled by like certain journals and certain publications of investment companies. This is not the case with cryptos, okay? And there is no one authority, you know, that sort of assesses the crypto market or that governs it, which is awesome. But it's also what makes it so difficult to navigate in it, okay? So you really gonna have to engage in your self-motivated investigative and research mode here, and you know, provide due diligence to what needs to be investigated. You cannot just buy something because somebody else said it. This market is extremely volatile. That means that you know, if there is one big whale, as they call this, you know, one big investor making a move in one of these small altcoins, it can change the course of like 12-13% in a day. All right, so you really need to pay attention. But if you are on the very sort of risky side of investment strategy, and you're familiar with how to trade and how to do all this, and you know the cryptos, This is probably a good time right now because, and this is the trading psychology that I was getting at, people make huge mistakes when it comes to investing into things, especially stocks and cryptos. They buy when it rises and they sell when the price lowers. Can you see the problem with that? Now, in the past, it may have been the beginning of the demise of a company. But in cryptos, we have such a strong volatility that these things happen, they can happen on a daily basis. The price can fluctuate 20%, up and down and up and down and up and down within the matter of 24 hours. So you got to watch it and you got to pay attention. This is a good time for those of you who are familiar trading to go into altcoins because it's a huge sell-off now. There's fear. Okay, Bitcoin went to all-time high. Then all these trading software programs kicked in and sold. All right, so the Bitcoin price went down. Immediately fear sets in. Immediately people start selling because they're afraid now that they've lost the peak of it. All right, and everything is undervalued now. And because we've only seen such a little part of the overall market investment or market capital flowing into cryptos, you really don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that this is going to rise. It's going to double and triple by the end of the year. But probably until, this is what other experts here, such as Cliff High, say is until February, there's going to be or March, there's going to be a huge potential for volatility that's uncontrollable, especially until we actually have these new standards. So please be careful. Please be careful, okay? Hodling is probably the safest. So just get into something, one of these currencies, and you don't really need to know what they're doing. Personally, I like Ethereum a lot. I think this is the most genius piece of protocol software, and I have very big aspirations for it. But also the companies that chose Ethereum as their secondary protocol, if you will, for their own tokens. So there are some really cool startups. And as far as what you should have on your watch list right now, those of you who actually want to look at these altcoins and perhaps even ICOs, which I do not feel qualified actually to recommend to you at this very moment, because it has become a little is so fast that I can't keep up with this, to be honest with you. But I can give you sectors to look at. One of the main business sectors, so cryptocurrencies that are representing companies that act in certain business sectors that are definitely worthwhile looking at, is of course all of those tokens who provide infrastructure, meaning they provide the very software that I talked about, the application software that we need in the future, wallets. The same with exchanges, as well as payment platforms. And there are some very, very cool companies there, and I like a few of them. And I am not a financial advisor, so a big disclaimer here, do not do what I say. But I can tell you what I like, and I can also tell you what I have done. And there are companies such as Veritasium, PayPal, Spectre. I did not invest myself, but I am thinking about it. Such as Utrust, that are providing, and Pillar, of course, my all-time favorite, that are providing the needed infrastructure in the next year. So these companies will be rising in the next year. There's other companies in those sectors that I didn't mention right now. But that doesn't mean that they're bad, okay? I think that they can all exist, that they can all coexist, because this is such a new technology that it doesn't really matter if it's Pepsi or Cola, or Pepsi or Coca-Cola. They can both, or even three of them, have you know, their own little specialities and provide service for all of us, provided that they're empowering and that they're making it easier for us, and that they provide a service that allows us to move into these new standards of integrity. Other sectors are lending, invoice factoring, real estate, governing. If you are following my Twitter, I'm retweeting some cool articles sometimes that there's whole communities and even countries, one or two that I know of, that have completely shifted all their government data storage and processing to blockchain, the technology that's underneath Bitcoin. So this is all just in the really, really beginning stages. All right. So again, here, watch the free cryptocurrency workshop that I've put up here on my YouTube channel. It's also on my front page on www.transcodes.com. All right. If you need a little bit of a heads up on all this terminology. In the written energy report that I'm hopefully getting done prior to the next week, I will put these ICOs, these altcoins that I mentioned. I will list them there for you, along with a list of resources, you know, how to investigate, how to do research on these companies. All right. So the last point, and this is a long energy update, I apologize for this, is the practical energy tip, okay? The practical tips now for this next week are, remember when I talked about mindfulness? Well, in my world, mindfulness is actually what leads to mindlessness, okay? But it was a different type of mindfulness that we talked about there in context with consciousness development. But this week you will actually experience a little bit of mindlessness, absent-mindedness, or, you know, like sort of doing things out of affection. You gotta be careful there, because this is where these miscommunications, these misconceptions, and maybe hurting other people's feelings, this is where this will happen. And so you gotta be careful. Watch out how you express things with other people. You know, be softer, move softer, talk softer, approach things in a softer way, and as a matter of fact, help yourself to slow down, to silence your mind, to consolidate your energy. The energy centers affected in this coming week are, and this is so funny because I was writing it down and I'm like, oh yeah, our 7th chakra again. Oh yeah, our 6th chakra. So 6 and 7 chakra there, yeah, they are challenged again. So more headaches, more nasal congestion, more pain in the ear. And oh, our 5th chakra, oh, our throat and our expression. Oh, our 4th chakra, yes, that wants to go into expression. So we're going to have issues here with lungs and breathing. Okay. Oh, our 3rd chakra, yeah, our diaphragm and our stomach and our liver and our gallbladder. Oh, and for some people also their 2nd chakra. So basically, actually, except for 1st chakra, I have all our energy centers affected this week, which means that's going to be tough. All right. You know that I have these chakras charts that I put into the edited video and the written energy report, but I also have something that I give out to you if you email me. It is a list of practical exercises for when a particular energy center is compromised, or when we have to work on balancing or clearing it. So please send me an email, Jona@transcodes.com, if you want to have that list. It's too much, and I feel too much like I'm publishing or broadcasting redundant information here if I say the same things for each chakra. Okay, that's why I've put all these things into charts and into graphs, because that's part of our Sacred Self-Healing training course. All right, so you can ask for that list on email. Also, one of the things, besides slowing down and silencing our mind is that you got to be careful to isolate yourself too much. I know that sometimes, especially when we go through a little bit of emotional, spiritual pain, that we want to cave in. But this week, all right, you've got to go out. You got to find people that you can speak with, but on this level of new standards, new standard of authenticity, new standard of truth. You will find them, and next year will be all about that. But if you isolate yourself, you are re-energizing your ego, you're re-energizing this, and I know this is probably going to rub you the wrong way, but it is a form of specialness, to go into this sort of self-pity and only I understand, nobody understands me. This is a form of specialness, and specialness is an ego frequency. So don't go there. Seek community, seek people that you can talk to. And this, I offer free initial energy coaching sessions. That's just part of how I do business, and I offer two free energy sessions every month. The next one actually coming up next Friday, so not tomorrow, on the 1st of December, but on the 8th of December, the remote prayer group healing for anyone in distress, physically, emotionally, mentally, and so forth. And also the active self-healing transmissions that we do throughout the weeks. We have something really intense going on right now, which is called Grace Redemption Marathon. People can still sign up for this. It's going on today, tomorrow, and on Saturday. And then next week we're going to have let me check this real quick. I've just published the event calendar for this month, and those are public sessions that you can all sign up for. Yes, we have the remote healing circle, which is a sort of a workshop format, but everybody can do this from at home, about connection, love, and intimacy. A very, very beautiful format where we go into an energy session first, and then we actually all meet live in a webinar and talk about our experiences and contextualize this. So do not think that you were alone, okay? And we've created a whole self-healing community here at transCODES. So our forum is also for free, and the 24-step sacred self-healing course is something that everybody can do from home. All right, and it brings you access with to all our past video recordings and video trainings, and we have at least one a week going on. All right, anyway. Guys, I am sorry. I was just like going on, and I was not even paying attention. So I hope I did not miss any of your guys' comments. If you have questions, please continue to ask questions here in the commentary. I answer or respond to every sensible question. All right, and I usually even post things like charts and so forth along with it for better understanding. So thank you for coming here, for paying attention, and for spreading the word. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, and go to my website, guys. My website is extremely dynamic. It changes every day, because there's a lot happening here at transCODES, and as you'll notice this in the forum, there's a constant reporting that we do, constant reflection, and so forth. So there's a lot going on here. All right, so you are not alone. And even if you just watch the free videos here on the YouTube channel. Next week, I'm going to be recording from Iceland, my home country. So me too. I have to go through loss and pain, and everything that I talked about is absolutely authentic, because I am going through every little aspect of what I predicted myself. So I hope I can get a few cool shots from Iceland for all of you, and perhaps even get an appointment with one of these really cool mining pools that they have there. on Iceland. So let's see. I hope to see you next week, most likely the same time. I'm not sure how this works with the time difference, but next Thursday, December the 7th, and from Iceland. And I wish you guys a wonderful week. Get through the weekend, all right, and slow down. Love you guys. Thank you.